What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Two Beans in a Pod. My name is Jose.
Jared right here, young fellas.
Back with another episode, and this week we have an interesting episode that we wanted to talk about. Last week I know we introduced the topic of what if. Now, Jared and I, for those who don't know, we're big fans of Marvel, and last summer they had a television series on Disney Plus called Marvel's What If. And so we thought it would be interesting to do something regarding the NFL in terms of events that could have happened but didn't.
That's right.
You can think of many, ideas. I mean, the NFL is 100 years plus. There's so many stories, so many athletes, so many championship teams and Hall of Famers that have come and gone for the NFL. And with that, there's always events in history that kind of define an era or lead a trajectory into a different era. And thinking about this episode and preparing for this episode, I realized that a lot of things were going to be probably related to Tom Brady. Because Tom Brady's career, there's so many events in time that could have occurred that could have changed the trajectory of history. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of the first ones that really came to mind was the 2007 Patriots.
Okay, so what if they did win? Okay, the Super Bowl.
I mean, if they did win, they'd be 19-0.
Yeah.
The second team to go perfect behind the 72 Dolphins, but the difference is this would have been 19 wins.
Mm-hmm.
Had they done that, Randy Moss finally gets a ring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's one of the greatest wide receivers of all time, one of the very few to not get a Super Bowl ring. But then you have to think, well, what does this do for New England? At that time, they had 3 Super Bowls. This would have been their 4th. But how does this shape the future? Do they still go on to win, the same Super Bowls they had participated in, whether it was Super Bowl 46, 49, 51, 52, 53, and so on?
Well, I think they might not win those specific ones, but I feel like they would win other ones. Pretty much at the same amount, but probably a different year or so.
Yeah, the timeline wouldn't be exactly the same, but
Yeah.
you feel like it would have been the same trajectory, same path.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I find interesting, and recently I watched the Man in the Arena series on Disney Plus. It's chronicling the 10 Super Bowl appearances that Tom Brady has been in. And one common theme that I've seen throughout each episode was that he always had this chip on his shoulder. He always had this competitive nature that pushed him to be the best that he could be, as well as a leader, father, quarterback, whatever you may have. That loss against the Giants in 2007, the 2007 season, I feel like that's part of the reason why he had such a competitive nature, because it put that chip on his shoulder to where, man, we were almost perfect, and we still couldn't get it done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's I feel like ever since that loss, it just not only fueled him to win more, but I feel like he pretty much had that mama mentality towards his second half of the career, or just from that point on.
Yeah.
I don't know. Brady is just something else, and I feel like if you were to win it right there, I feel like at that point in time right there, people would talk, okay, is he already an all-time great? At the time of 2007, if they were to go perfect.
Well, I've seen something on the internet where it's Tom Brady has had 3 Hall of Fame careers.
Yeah.
His first half with the Patriots, his second half with the Patriots, and some argue his time with the Buccaneers. So regardless, I think he's an all-time great. But with this team winning the Super Bowl that year, I think it's no debate they would have been the greatest team of all time.
Oh yeah.
Very similar to how the 73-9 Warriors in 2016, had the greatest record in regular season history, but they weren't able to win a championship. Same situation. Keeping up with Tom Brady, you look at Super Bowl 49. Another Super Bowl appearance is in 2015 when the Super Bowl occurred. The interception.
Oh, I do remember that one.
It took place, in Glendale, Arizona, where the Cardinals play. Super Bowl 49, Seahawks, coming off of a Super Bowl win the previous year, now facing the Patriots, who had not won a Super Bowl in 10 years. And everyone knows the story. The Seahawks get down to the 1-yard line. Everyone thinks they're going to give it to Marshawn Lynch. He's going to run for the touchdown. They don't do that, though. They try to surprise the defense.
Okay, so I might go a little bit off the tracks right here. I remember they called a timeout, didn't they?
I don't recall, to tell you the truth.
Before they ran it, okay? See, with me, I was already like under the impression, okay, Marshawn Lynch is gonna run it, they're gonna win the game. But then I thought to myself, oh wait, the Madden curse. Richard Sherman was on the cover, and I remember I just yelled out to you, I'm like, the Madden curse, they're not gonna get the touchdown. And if they were to run it, okay, I feel like the whole Legion of Boom at the time, I think it would have helped them in terms of like their legacy wise for their defense to be like up there with like the 85 Bears defense and everything. And I feel like with them winning, it would also hurt Brady's legacy in terms of like obviously not winning the Super Bowl, but also Belichick as well. Like who knows? Maybe at the time they'll be like, oh, Brady's starting to get old. You know, like they have to like do something. You know, they got split. They got to like revamp, I guess. You know, like start over, I guess. You know, do you get what I'm trying to say?
There was a point in time where Tom Brady and Bill Belichick were not getting along, reportedly.
Yeah.
And this was around the time that they had traded Jimmy Garoppolo to the Niners because Rob Kraft wanted to go one direction, Belichick wanted to go in a different direction, so they decided to move Jimmy and keep Tom Brady. I feel like this might have been able to a way to speed up the process in terms of any level of dissension between the two.
Yeah.
You bring up the '85 Bears but to be fair, they only did one Super Bowl.
That's true.
Seahawks, had they ran the ball with Marshawn Lynch, I think it's a foregone conclusion they would have won the Super Bowl. They would have gone back-to-back, which would have been the first time since 2005 when the Patriots did it. Mm-hmm. To this day, no team has gone back-to-back since the Patriots back in 2005. I do think it does kind of hurt Brady because had he lost this, his Super Bowl record would have been 3 wins, 3 losses. You talk about the dynasty. When the Patriots had won this Super Bowl, they then went on to win Super Bowl 51 in the 28-3 comeback. They went on to win 53. Had they not won this, is the dynasty instead Seattle? Also, you look at the relationship between Pete Carroll and some of his athletes there. His relationship with Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, that defense, it wasn't the same after this play. You can sense that level of dissension between them, and it's what broke up the Legion of Boom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Had they won this, not only does it solidify them as a dynasty, but it, like you said, it puts them up there as one of the best defenses of all time. I do think they're already there. And also it talks about the conversation of Russell Wilson. Some people have him a borderline Hall of Famer. I think if they win the Super Bowl, I think it's guaranteed.
Yeah.
2-time Super Bowl champion, back-to-back.
Uh-huh.
He would have been a shoo-in for Hall of Famer. Still, I think it's still a debate for today. You know what I mean? I'm going to keep up. This is going to be the final topic on Tom Brady because, like I said, you could do so much on his career. The final topic on Tom Brady that I wanted to mention was him joining the Patriots in terms of as a starter. Now, you can take this 2 different directions, whether it's him being drafted at 199th in the draft or had Drew Bledsoe never gotten injured. Now, without Brady, do they still have a dynasty with Drew Bledsoe and Bill Belichick?
Honestly, I don't think so.
It's tough to say, because it's not like Drew Bledsoe wasn't a good quarterback. He was a quality quarterback. He played in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
He played in Super Bowl 31 against the Packers, which the Packers eventually won. He was a solid quarterback, the kind of production you wanted in any one of your starters. But I do think had they not won, or excuse me, had he stayed in and not gotten injured, the Rams probably would have won the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
They were the number 1 team in offense. They had a 3-year span where Kurt Warner won the MVP in 99. Their running back Marshall Faulk won it in 2000, and then Warner won it in 2001. 3 straight years that someone from their offense won the MVP award. I think they win the championship. But then it also leads into the debate about the Tuck rule. The Tuck rule, again, was a rule that wasn't really established at the time until the game between the Raiders and the Patriots in the divisional round. And everyone knows it's no game. It's for NFL fans, they know the game.
Mm-hmm. But for now, people who don't, would you explain them what the Tuck rule is exactly, though?
The Tuck rule, back in 2002, it was a 2001 season, but it happened in 2002. I hate that distinction. It just confuses some people.
Yeah.
But in the divisional round, the Raiders were facing the Patriots. And the 2 key players in this play was Charles Woodson and Tom Brady, who both played at Michigan. Now, the point is, it's in the snow, so it's a little bit tougher to get a grip on the ball. Tom Brady drops back, and as he's going into a throwing motion, it seems that Charles Woodson knocks the ball out of his hands, and it's a fumble. The Raiders recover. They would have won the game. However, the officials called it still Patriot ball due to the tuck rule, and that's because as he was bringing the ball back, he was bringing it back to the center of his body, establishing that it wasn't going to be a throw, but that he was trying to recover it to his chest. And that's what led them to believe that, okay, no, it's the tuck rule. We're not going to call it a fumble. It's Patriot ball. It's still a controversy that lives on today, and some debate whether or not would they have won the Super Bowl, would they have become the dynasty if it wasn't for the tuck rule. Like I said, though, with Brady, so many events had to occur for him to be in this, greatest of all time debate. I feel like you could center around a whole episode around him and his career, and I feel like that's why so many people like to pick on him and his legacy is because, to be fair, so many things had to go a certain way for him to be who he is in terms of his success. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, again, to move off of Tom Brady, because I don't want to spend the whole episode talking about him, this next topic is near and dear to our hearts.
Oh, God.
We're looking at the 2005 NFL Draft.
Oh, yeah. I think I know this is going already.
The San Francisco 49ers had the number 1 pick in the draft, and it was well documented they needed a quarterback. And their two main options would have been Alex Smith or a young quarterback named Aaron Rodgers. Of course, as we know now, they selected Alex Smith, and Aaron Rodgers would not be selected until the 24th pick by the Green Bay Packers. And very famously, Green Bay's quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, would be quoted as saying he was going to make sure the Niners regret not picking him. First off, thoughts about that? Thoughts about the whole Aaron Rodgers versus Niners rivalry? What are your initial thoughts?
Okay, so I guess you could say I was a young blood or young kid, I didn't really understand what was going on with that situation, but I respect Rodgers for what he's done, what I've seen from him, his work ethic. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback, okay?
Yeah.
And yeah, when he first got drafted to the Packers, he was a little bit of an arrogant kid, thinks he knows it all, he's the best, all that, okay? And it took him a few years to finally have the starting position because Brett Favre was the starting quarterback. And I feel like if we were to draft him, one, there'd be no Brett Favre role to help mentor him onto what a quarterback should be in terms of how a leader should act and how a role model should be, and towards peers, fans, anyone, I feel like Rodgers would have been the same kid, all arrogant, cocky, kind of I don't want to say Johnny Manziel, but a little bit toned down, not the party type, but more of arrogance. And I guess you could say a little bit of Josh Rosen as well, because he was also like that as well.
So I'm not gonna let you disrespect Aaron Rodgers by comparing him to Josh Rosen.
And I don't mean to do that, okay?
But it's just the narrative that you're trying to introduce, and I do agree because at the time, Rodgers was a young quarterback coming out of Cal. Again, some people mistaken his confidence with arrogance, and I think that's a fine line you have to learn how to ride in terms of being an athlete, especially as a young athlete. Mm-hmm. I do think had the Niners selected him at number 1, do they have a Super Bowl run? Is he capable of carrying that offense? Because keep in mind, we weren't, what we were with the Harbaugh years just yet. However, I do think that in terms of his level of maturity, I do think that sitting behind Brett Favre was huge, as you mentioned. It allowed him to mature, learn the offense, learn the NFL, and just learn how to behave, really.
Yeah.
I do think that Rodgers, again, just like Tom Brady, is one of those players who was able to benefit off of having a chip on his shoulder. And for him to sit there in the green room waiting until the 24th pick to get selected, it humbled him in a way. He realized, you know what, okay, maybe I'm not all that. And I shouldn't say that he didn't think that, but it really gives you an opportunity to reflect and think, well, why aren't they picking me earlier? And I'm speaking as if I'm Rodgers. I know I'm a top tier talent. I know I'm a number 1 pick. Why am I not selected? Why am I waiting until the 24th pick? And the level of disrespect and scrutiny he might have felt at that moment, I think, is what elevated him to become that bad man that we all know him to be.
Yeah.
I do also have to think on the flip side, what happens to Alex Smith? If he doesn't get selected by us, reports are saying that the next team that would have been interested probably would have been Washington, who didn't have a quarterback at the time.
Yeah.
But also, does he fall to the 24th and go to Green Bay? I mean, it's a fair assessment. It's what happened to Rodgers.
It could happen, but I don't think it would. I feel like he probably would have gone to Washington, and I feel like nothing would have changed from Washington. Okay.
I guess it's hard to say because I think Alex Smith really benefited from having Harbaugh by his side, from 2011. Had he gone to Washington, who knows what would have happened. And that's why we talk about these what ifs, because and at the end of the day, it's all speculation. We don't know what would have happened, but it's fun to talk about, to see an alternate, dimension, an alternate reality where what if these things didn't happen? You mentioned Brett Favre, and it's like he doesn't have that pressure of having a young gun like Aaron Rodgers right behind him. Is he able to win a second Super Bowl? We don't know. Or perhaps that Super Bowl that Aaron Rodgers won, what if that was Brett Favre's? I mean, again, all speculation. We don't know. Keeping on the topic of the draft, this was, before your time. You were born in 2001, but this was the 1998 draft. The number 1 pick and the number 2 pick were between 2 quarterbacks, Ryan Leaf and Peyton Manning. A lot of people liked Ryan Leaf, but they looked at his level of maturity, and that's why they went with a Peyton Manning, who comes from the Manning family, Archie, Cooper, Eli, and now Peyton's nephew, Arch Manning, committed to Texas University. So I'm really looking forward to see that and see what he can bring to that offense. But to stay on track with the What Ifs episode, Peyton Manning goes number 1 overall to the Colts, and Ryan Leaf goes number 2 overall to the Chargers. Had the Colts selected Ryan Leaf, Peyton goes to the Chargers. And just think about that for a second. Rather than being in the middle of the country in Indianapolis, imagine Peyton playing in San Diego at the time they were, in San Diego.
Well, the way how I look at it, okay, we all know who Peyton Manning is. And I feel like if he were to be drafted by the Chargers, and let's say they were successful, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't later on, a few years from there, they drafted Drew Brees?
I'm glad you bring that up, because this was the 98 draft. And Ryan Leaf, as we know, didn't pan out. Unfortunately, he's deemed one of the biggest busts in NFL history.
Yeah.
Although he does do a great job in terms of, podcasting. Every now and then he hosts an episode of The Rich Eisen Show, and I think Ryan Leaf does an exceptional job at that. But you are correct. In 2001, as a result of Ryan Leaf struggling, the Chargers selected Drew Brees, but they also selected LaDainian Tomlinson in that same draft, running back LaDainian Tomlinson. LT would go with the 5th pick, and Drew Brees was the 32nd pick. So if they have Peyton Manning, they don't have that high of a pick, because I think Peyton is able to elevate that team.
Yeah.
So we're talking right now, if they get Peyton, they don't get LT, they don't get Drew Brees. And if they don't get Drew Brees, what happens to him? Because he suffers a shoulder injury that leads him to go to New Orleans. So does New Orleans not get a championship now because of Drew Brees? And does Drew Brees even become one of the great quarterbacks? All because of Peyton Manning going to the Colts, this was able to happen. You know what I mean? So that's 2 careers already altered, whether it's Peyton and Drew Brees, I mean even Ryan Leaf, or who knows, maybe Ryan Leaf goes to the Colts and he has this level of success that Manning did. I don't think so. But hey, it's something to think about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, what are your thoughts on Drew Brees heading into the broadcasting booth on NBC last season?
I thought it was fun. Because, watching Drew Brees play, he was a great player, And I feel like for people who does broadcasting, I feel like it's more interesting when someone who used to play, they understand the game more, like Tony Romo.
Tony Romo does a great job.
Yeah. I know, people didn't really like him when he played in Dallas, but people love him when he's broadcasting now in the way how he is.
Mm-hmm.
Because he knows the game, and he makes it, easier, and plus, the way how he reads the plays and sees, okay, this is what, what's gonna happen, he's there for a reason. Kind of like how John Madden was a little bit in terms of, how describing what certain situations are going on the field. Whether if it's a field goal kick, whether if it's a play action, anything really. You know?
No, Tony Romo's ability to really translate an offense or defense to the audience is unmatched. I love him with Jim Nantz. I think their chemistry is just tremendous. They bring a sense of levity and fun to calling a football game, and I look forward to the rest of his career in terms of broadcasting on CBS.
Yeah, no one doesn't want to hear boring commentators who talks blah 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 blah. No, it's more fun when people know the game to a certain level, I guess, to where you can almost kind of relate and be like, yeah, I can see why he's doing it. It makes sense, like I see why that player is over there on that side of the field, and I just feel like it makes it more fun when you see people who used to play the game are commentators, and I feel like that's what lately is what's going on now, is most people are turning into commentating or being more on the analyst side of the sport itself.
Real quick, to go back to Tony Romo too, you can see that I think he genuinely has fun doing it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that translates real well on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it just makes it such a fun time to listen to him and when watch him go through the progressions of analyzing each game. So, real quick side note on that, we like to give credit to where it's due. But let's go back to something we know. And 1980, in the late 1980s, the San Francisco 49ers had gone back-to-back Super Bowl wins, winning Super Bowl 23 and 24, defeating the Bengals and the Denver Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
That following season, they made it to the NFC Championship where they would face the New York Giants, who had Lawrence Taylor, of course. And in that game, Joe Montana suffers an injury, and he's knocked out of the game, essentially, and unfortunately, the Niners fall in that NFC Championship game, preventing them of reaching a third straight Super Bowl, also preventing them from accomplishing something that has still never been done, and that is a successful three-peat in the NFL. Real quick, your thoughts on the Niners in the 80s, and also what it would mean to a franchise, not necessarily the Niners, but what it would mean to a franchise to accomplish a three-peat.
Well, okay. Let alone for a three-peat in any sport, okay? Whether if it's basketball, baseball, football, even soccer, for a team to go to the championship, win it 3 times in a row, I believe they're instantly
They're all-time greats.
Yeah, it's really hard to say it, but it's like as an organization alone, it's really, really impressive. The Yankees are one. I don't have that much knowledge of baseball, but I know they won so many World Series, and
27.
Yeah,
27 titles. Can you believe that?
Yeah, that's. It's impressive. Okay,
to reach the pinnacle of your sport, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, and so on, to reach the pinnacle of that is a success on its own. But to do it 3 times straight and win it, I mean, we just saw the Tampa Bay Lightning. They tried to go. Yeah. They tried to go for a three-peat this past Stanley Cup. They did not accomplish that. But regardless, going 3 straight is difficult, regardless of the sport.
Or just going there alone is difficult as it is.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, we know, winning a championship, going to a championship is difficult, but that's why a three-peat is just so impressive, and it's unprecedented. It still has not been done.
Because you would think by now the teams would understand, okay, this is how they run the plays, we'll just kind of adapt and see what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And later on, they'll start picking up.
Yeah, no, and that leads me to my next point. So let's say that the Niners are able to get past the Giants and they go to the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 25, they would have faced against the Buffalo Bills. I think that matchup would have been just tremendous. I mean, you had Joe Montana, Jim Kelly, Andre Reed, Jerry Rice, Roger Craig, Thurman Thomas. You had George Seiferd's defense versus Mark Levy's offense. I think it genuinely could have been one of the greatest Super Bowl matchups of all time.
Mm-hmm.
It's a topic we'll get more into next week, and I'll explain that in a bit. But again, we talk about reaching the Super Bowl so many times. The Bills went 4 straight, which is unprecedented in its own. And it's a perfect segue because it leads me to our next topic of the Bills. 4 Super Bowl appearances, that would be 25, 26, 27, 28. What if they win 1? I mean, it's ridiculous. You don't even win 1.
I feel like if they were to win 1, I feel like they would have gone back either way. Okay.
Yeah.
But if it was like the 4th one, I think that far at most
mm-hmm.
they probably would have gone to AFC Championship game.
I mean, it's a possibility.
Yeah, but it's like just you would think they would have won.
It just, if they win a Super Bowl, you look at all the talent. As I mentioned,
mm-hmm.
Thurman Thomas,
mm-hmm.
Kelly, Reed, Bruce Smith. So many guys could have, have won a ring, and to do that, cemented their legacies for so many of those guys. You look at the Buffalo Bills and their fan base, Bills Mafia. How crazy would they have gotten for at least one of those Super Bowls? And would they still be as, fanatics as they are today? I'm sure they would have. But I feel like nowadays it means so much more to them because they know what it means to win a Super Bowl. Because they haven't done it yet. They realize the weight that could do for a fan base.
Going back to those four Super Bowls, who are they facing? Okay, I want to know, KC, which more of a realistic approach where they could have won. Okay, I know they went 2 against the Cowboys, correct?
Yeah, they went 2 against the Cowboys. The first one at Super Bowl 25, they faced the aforementioned New York Giants, and the next year in Super Bowl 26, they faced the Washington Redskins. At the time, they were known as the Redskins. Now they're known as the Commanders for other reasons. Again, if you know, you know. It's difficult because all those teams are such a... And first of all, here's the interesting thing. All 3 teams came from the same division.
Oh, that's right.
The NFC East.
And I feel like no one really gives Washington enough credit because people nowadays, they only know them for being a dumpster fire,
all the controversy that surrounds them.
Yeah.
But they do have 3 Super Bowl championships to their name.
Yeah, they're successful back then, you can't disrespect that,
Here's the thing.
It's just sad because people only know them now of what's going on right now than how it was back then, unfortunately.
Yeah. You talked about Buffalo and winning a Super Bowl, and which probably would have been more likely. When they faced the Giants, they lost 20-19 off of a missed field goal kick from Scott Norwood. That was their closest game. Because once they faced the Redskins in their second Super Bowl appearance, they would lose by 13. Against the Cowboys in their third appearance, they lost 52-17.
Oh my god.
And in their fourth and final appearance, they lost by 17 points, 30-13. They were the number 1 offense for many years with the, K-gun offense. But it didn't translate in the Super Bowl, and defenses like the Redskins, the Cowboys, the Giants really took control. One of the best stories coming out of the New York Giants Super Bowl appearance in Super Bowl 25, they controlled the clock. They understood that, okay, we can't let the Bills get off and running and gain momentum. So they ran the ball. They ran the ball down their throats to the point where, it was a short scoring game, but that level of control. And that's why I really enjoy the run game, because you're able to control the game, control the pace, control the clock. And the Giants were able to do that, defeating the Bills. But again, one of the biggest what ifs, what if the Bills had won a championship? Finally, this is going to be our final topic in terms of the what ifs. Because there's going to be an extension episode next week, and I'll get to that in a moment. But finally, let's take it all the way back to the 60s. Way before our time. Whoa. I was born in 98, you were born in 01, so this is way before our time. Super Bowl 3. The New York Jets and Joe Namath versus the then Baltimore Colts, who had Johnny Unitas on the roster, one of the all-time great quarterbacks. The New York Jets would win the Super Bowl 16-7. Very low-scoring game, but what really goes around this Super Bowl is Joe Namath and his guarantee. They interview him, I believe it was either Friday or Saturday. It was a couple of days before the game, and they ask him about his thoughts on the game, on the Super Bowl. And he says that, we're going to win. I guarantee it. And it made headlines. And it's one of those things that coaches tell you do not do. You do not want to give bulletin board material to the opposition because they're going to use it as motivation and fuel for, in order to beat that team. So real quick, what are your thoughts on the guarantee? How do you feel about players talking a big game before they even step on the field? What are your initial thoughts about that?
I have a thing, okay? I am not a fan when people get ahead of themselves and say they're going to do this. Because I believe in jinxes and superstitions like that, okay?
As you mentioned, like the Madden curse.
Yeah. So, I respect the confidence, okay? Everyone's going to have confidence, okay? No matter what it is, as long as you have confidence, it's all good. But if you're going to say something, you have to back it up. Because if you don't back it up, you're going to look like a fool. And what Joe Namath did, he had the balls to do that, okay? It's like...
a very gutsy call there.
And let alone back then, it was more grit and it was hard-fought football. It was more physical and... yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Like, compared to how it was today, in my opinion, I feel like any quarterback today, they wouldn't even last to how it was back then. Okay? Like, for example, if you get Patrick Mahomes.
I knew you were going to go after him.
Well, hold on. If you get him, put him in like wherever it was back then. Mm-hmm. Hell, put up against the 85 Bears. He's going to get embarrassed, dude. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, but to be fair, the 85 Bears, I mean...
Okay, well...
I get what you're saying. I do see what you're saying.
But for Joe Namath to do that, it's like, okay, like, I know the Jets, you know, that like compared to how the Jets were back then and now, everyone knows them now as, again, another dumpster fire. Okay,
the Jets have not been able to do anything since like 2010.
Exactly,
it's crazy.
Exactly. So, legit, the only thing relevant is the whole butt fumble,
and that's not even good.
Exactly. It's like, I don't know. Okay.
Joe Namath has been able to make a career off of this simple statement of "I guarantee." You see him on his commercials, and they always use the line "I guarantee it" or stuff like that.
But if he did say that, and if they lose, he would look it would look really bad on him. It would, you know.
Yeah, we look at Joe Namath as such a prestigious name, and you know, just Broadway Joe, one of the cool guys. Had this not paid off, I mean, yeah, like you said, his legacy, his image, everything would have been tarnished. In terms of tarnishing legacies, though, one thing I've always found interesting about the Super Bowl in its early stages was it wasn't AFC versus NFC just quite yet. It was all a part of the merger, the American Football League versus the National Football League, AFL, NFL. And in the first two Super Bowls, they were won by the NFL, Green Bay, and Vince Lombardi, that is. They would defeat the Kansas City Chiefs in the first Super Bowl and then the Raiders in the second Super Bowl. So heading into this third Super Bowl, many experts and many prognosticators were thinking, if the Jets cannot beat the Colts and the Colts win a third Super Bowl for the NFL, is it really a competition? Is the merger a success? Because it's just so NFL heavy. So it was very important for the Jets to win the Super Bowl because now it kind of demonstrates that, okay, it is a competition. We do have a fair fight between two different leagues. And I looked into this. It's interesting enough. The Green Bay Packers and the NFL won the first two Super Bowls. But between Super Bowl III, this is including the Jets' victory, between Super Bowl III and Super Bowl 15, the AFL won 11 out of 13 Super Bowls. So everyone thought the NFL was going to dominate because the Packers went back-to-back. But after that Super Bowl, the NFL only won 2 out of 13 Super Bowls, which I think is very interesting because it establishes that dynamic, that competitive dynamic. And then following that, beginning with Super Bowl 16, when the Niners won, they would go on and win, I don't know, like 13 straight Super Bowls themselves. So it becomes a power struggle between both leagues and seeing just who has the best teams, who has the best athletes. And with the Super Bowl III, had the Jets not won, I mean, who knows what the Super Bowl era would have become, you know?
Honestly, I wouldn't know. Why? Because things might happen for a reason.
Way before our time as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I guess you could say, you know, it was meant to be true, or I guess that's what people say nowadays. I don't know. I'm not really good with
everything happened. Everything happened for a reason.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just so interesting to think. And these are only just a few of the examples we could find, because again, you know, we could spend all day talking about it, but we only have about a half hour between 40 minutes about these episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was our episode on the NFL and the what if scenarios. I'm looking forward to next week's. I've already begun, you know, doing the research and preparing because it's something I find interesting. And all this talk about Super Bowls, whether it was Super Bowl 25, Super Bowl 3, the Bills Super Bowls, it got me thinking, okay, there have been 56 Super Bowls ever. And a lot of them have historic, you know, meaning and significance and events that have occurred over the time. But what about the Super Bowls that never happened? What about the Super Bowls that almost happened? But because of fate and because of destiny and because of whatever you believe in, they did not occur. Next week, I look forward to this. It's really going to be a lot of me just doing research and informing the audience and informing you about 10 Super Bowls that almost happened and what significance it would have, you know, had on the NFL, but also just the entertainment value. You know what I mean? I look forward to that. There's going to be 10 Super Bowls that almost happened but did not. I will give credit where credit is due. It is an article on NFL.com that was produced, you know, I think 5 years ago. Really look forward to that. Real quick as well, the NFL season just around the corner. Looking really forward to that. I can't wait. Whenever football comes back around, it's always like a national holiday.
It's my favorite time of the year, let alone, okay? Fall is my favorite time, okay? Spring, I don't like. Summer, I hate the weather. Winter, really good. I like sweater weather, okay? But fall, it's where sports comes into play. And, of course, my birthday. But just football, okay? I can't wait. I'm hyped, okay?
It's going to be great. It's going to be a great season. Everyone's ramping up. We have trades coming around. Free agency still somewhat going on. But a lot of people just predicting what's going to happen in the season. And believe me, we'll get to that as well as we approach the preseason. We'll talk about our predictions on who's going to win what division, our standings. I'm really looking forward to the season itself, too, because that way we can really talk about game by game, or week by week, I should say, on the events of the NFL and really take us on a journey throughout the whole NFL season. So I'm really looking forward to that. You know? With that being said, Jared, it's another episode of Two Beans in a Pod. Really excited again for next week's episode.
Yes, sir.
But where can everyone find you?
Okay, so people who have YouTube, okay, look it up, subscribe. Sanfran5. I post videos, like a few times a week, and then of course follow me on Twitch. Sanfran5, of course. I'll be live Friday, which is today, if you're listening the day it comes out. And then TikTok, Sanfran5_. Snapchat, of course, Broke _Beaner 445. Yes, you heard that right. Broke _Beaner 445. And, yeah, what's your handles, bro?
Well, no, I mean, I always enjoy listening to the Broke Beaner tagline. It's really great. I always tell you don't change it because I think it's one of the best names I've ever heard of.
Yep. Oh, and I'm finally going to get paid tomorrow, too, so I won't be Broke Beaner anymore.
It won't not be. You have payday, baby.
Oh, yeah.
You can also find me, just Jose_3, on all social media platforms. If you'd like to reach out, give us support, also give us ideas on what you think we should talk about, whether it's on the podcast or on my YouTube channel, which is also just Jose_3. Looking to produce more content every week. We have a preview of each NFL division. This week we are focused on the NFC East, which would be the Eagles, Cowboys, Commanders, and the Giants. Again, we're winding down on the off season. Can't wait for the NFL season to begin because I'll be able to produce more content and more ideas on YouTube. But please, again, like, share, subscribe. It means a lot. We look at the analytics, and it does make a difference for each person that subscribes and likes a video. Again, thank you for the support. We look forward to next week's episode. And as always, my name is Jose.
I'm just playing, y'all. It's just Jared over here.
And we will see you next week.